I'm going to give you the number, and we're going to open up the lines to you. Toll-free number. It's you called.
You called. Presented by Playground.
Brought to you by Playground, your premier gaming destination located just over the Mercier Bridge, only minutes from downtown Montreal. And we usually take calls after Montreal Canadiens games for the most part. So we'll take them tonight, and we'll take them again on Thursday night when the Montreal Canadiens visit the Columbus Blue Jackets. And once again, in case you missed it, Jonathan Drouin is out 4 to 6 weeks with an upper body injury sustained November 5th versus the Vegas Golden Knights. Call us, 1-888-5856, 1-888-585-7425. Sammy Cavallaro is back at Master Control, and he's going to patch through the calls. But before we do, we're going to take a few comments. And you can send your questions to us right now. And by the way, if you love the Sick podcast, message us Sick, because right now we're live on YouTube, we're live on Twitter, and we are live on Facebook. If I can, I want to express all my thanks to everyone who watched last night. Last night was a great night for the podcast, and we hope there's going to be many, many more. Thank you very much. We love you all. You are our Sick Army. And if you listen on Google, Apple, or Spotify, leave us a 5-star review. We really, really appreciate that. It goes a long way. Let's go to the comments. Hutsy says they have to trade Josh Anderson. I don't think they have to trade Josh Anderson this season, but I think after the amount of years that Anderson's been in the league, this is who he is. If we're expecting him to play 82 games the same way, it's not him, because if he did play 82 games at his best, he would be one of the best power forwards in the National Hockey League, and he has the makings to be, but unfortunately, he's not. He's a north-south player, but unfortunately, when the wires touch, he plays with a little bit more fire in his belly, and when they don't, he just doesn't. And for Anderson to be at his best, he needs to be, driving to the net with conviction, taking defensemen to the outside, crashing the net, finishing his hits, using his great wrist shot, going to the front of the net, taking and delivering punishment. And unfortunately, it just seems to happen 1 in every 4, 1 in every 5. I don't think it's urgent to trade him this season. But at the same time, if he can fetch you something really good, you're going to have to listen. But is he going to fetch you something really good when he's playing 1 in every 4, 1 in every 5? Because if I see it and you see it, well, then other teams see it. What I think is going to happen is they're going to try and get rid of some big contracts. And if they don't get rid of those big contracts because they're up at the end of the year, well, then those contracts will be off the books at the end of the season. And then they're going to be, they're going to have some money to do things maybe in the off season. And yesterday with Jeff Gordon, we talked about guys are just loving playing for Marty St. Louis. We talked about the fact that Canadiens are fun to watch. They're entertaining. They're scoring goals, although they didn't tonight, only one. And the Canadiens are managing people well. They've been doing a lot of right things over the last year and a half here. They're paying attention to details that maybe they had probably dropped the ball on a few issues or maybe paid less attention to, and they're trying to really turn it all around, and they're hoping that Montreal can be a place of destination for these free agents going forward. They have to trade him because he's the player that they can get the most return for. This coming in for Hutsy. Hutsy, I totally understand that. Maybe you're right. Compliment to a top 6, but a luxury third-line guy on a great team, says John Wayne. Others coming in on YouTube. Trade David Savard as well. David Savard would have value. If you're an NHL team and you're looking for a defenseman to add depth, you would go after David Savard. Audio Murphy says, Xhekaj, too many mistakes tonight. Maybe time for Laval for him. It all depends. If better development is being done here, you can keep him here. At the same time, I wouldn't have a problem if they trade Xhekaj, if they send Xhekaj to Laval for a bit. But what if you send Xhekaj to Laval and then other teams start taking liberties on some of your best players and some of your skill players? Who's going to defend them then? There are others that can do it, like Josh Anderson and like Joel Edmondson, for example. But it's nice to have a guy like Arbor Xhekaj in the lineup if something like that happens. It's, it's good to have him around. You know what I mean? Other comments? Raymond Singh. Do you think there's a trade coming soon of any kind? It seems like there is a log jam in a few areas. This coming in from Raymond Singh. Singh signed sold. I don't think so. Who are they going to trade? Let's just say they would trade I'm going to give an example. A Dvorak. And then they put Doc at center. Well, then who ends up playing the wing on that line? I don't think they're going to make a trade now. And so Michael Matheson has to get into the lineup here, and then maybe Xhekaj goes to Laval. Maybe yes, maybe no, but I don't see them making a trade anytime this week, but things can change. Should Montreal trade Gallagher? If not, why? This coming in from Christopher Francois. Christopher, of course they should. Brendan makes a lot of money for what he brings to the table right now. He works really hard. No one will ever doubt that. He's all heart. No one will ever doubt that. But $6.5 million a year is a lot of money for heart and hard work. But you're not going to find the taker because you're in a cap world. If you weren't in a cap world, maybe you would. But you are in a cap world. So because of that, you won't. Other comments and reminding you, if you want to call me, you can jump on a line now because I'll get to your calls momentarily. Toll free at 1-888-585-SICK, 1-888-585-7425. Canadiens lose by a score of 5-1. Jack Hughes putting on a show tonight at the Bell Center for the New Jersey Devils. And I thought John Marino, who scored in an empty net, I thought John Marino was really, really good for the New Jersey Devils tonight. Vitek Vanacek was good as well. He stopped 25 of 26. John Marino, 22 minutes and 17 seconds. He had a goal. He had a point. He was +1. He had a couple of shots on goal. He blocked 3 shots in this hockey game. He took away a couple. I thought he was the best defenseman on the ice in the entire game. Kovacevic isn't good enough, in my opinion. Thoughts on him? I think Kovacevic is a guy you don't notice. And I think when you look at a player who's got limited ability, a player that you don't notice is actually a plus more than it is a minus. I think he's been a very good addition to this team, and I think he was a great waiver wire pickup. Others coming in. Is this really the end for Jonathan Drouin in the National Hockey League? This coming in from Matt Gonzo. Matt, if he comes back from injury 4 to 6 weeks and he's able to put together a goal or two, he'll probably find the team before the trade deadline because they'll only be on the hook for a couple of paychecks. But I think he's going to be really hard-pressed to get a job in the National Hockey League next year. It's just been too much of a downward spiral. It's going to be very, very difficult. If that's what he wants, I hope it for him, but it's going to have to be a lot better than it has been now. And, he's getting hurt a lot. Tony, will you be talking World Cup of Soccer on the podcast? Well, we're always going to talk Montreal Canadiens, but yes, I'm not going to see the World Cup come and go. It starts on the 20th of November. I believe it ends on the 17th or 18th of December. And yes, obviously, I'm going to be talking World Cup soccer. And Canada's going to play their first game versus the Belgian national team on Wednesday, November 23rd. A date that's very important to me, especially this year. Because on Wednesday, November 23rd, I will be celebrating my 50th birthday. All right, okay. Man, I hate that number. Do we have Chris Latornade? Chris?
Yep.
Yeah, Chris Latournade, what's going on from Latournade Sports Card Store in Vaudreuil-Dorion? What's on your mind, my man?
Well, I was just following you the post-game show and thought I'd give you a call.
All right, okay. What about?
No, I was just calling to talk about in the beginning of the year, I watched the preseason and all that, and I was really hyped up about Arbor Xhekaj, and just like a lot of people, the first through 3-4 games, we saw lots of big hits, lots of fights, everything like that. But I don't know. I feel like it's fallen off, and it's wearing off, and I'm seeing a lot of defensive mistakes. I'm not seeing the hits. I'm not seeing the fights anymore, and I feel like Montreal could have used that tonight.
Jeff Gordon talked about, the games that he played. The last couple of preseason games that he played was when he cemented his spot on this team. I think he rode a wave. I think he had some momentum, and he rode the wave, and he rode the momentum. I see some bad penalties. I see some bad decision-making. He's a player who's still raw. He's a player who clearly needs more seasoning. And he's a player that if he would be sent down to Laval, I think everyone would understand. But we have to ask ourselves, and I don't have the answer to this question, is there better development being done in Laval than there is in Montreal, or in Montreal that's being done in Laval? And maybe that's going to be able to answer the question. Or maybe when Mike Matheson comes back, maybe the Canadiens play 7D. We haven't discussed that yet. But if you play 7D, you shave a couple of minutes off of every defenseman, and then all the young guys are able to play. They're all able to get minutes. And if the better development is done here, that's a way that you can do it without exposing anyone and without burning anyone. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that once Matheson comes back, they're definitely going to have a big decision to make.
Chris, how was the card show in Toronto?
It was amazing. Spent lots of money, walked a lot, and met a lot of new people, saw a lot of old people.
You made a lot of money?
Well, I wouldn't say I made a lot of money, but I made a lot of acquisitions for future.
For you. Hey, I'm going to give you a call tomorrow because there's a couple of Panini stickers in terms of the World Cup album book there. There's a couple of stickers. I'm going to ask you, do you sell individual stickers or just packs?
I do have individual stickers. They would be my doubles from the packs that I opened.
All right. Okay. So you do have individual stickers, which are doubles. Okay. I'll give you a call tomorrow, bud.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. There you have it. Chris Latournade from Latournade Sports Player Card Store in Vaudreuil-Dorion. More of your comments coming in. Who will finish the season with more points? Cole Caulfield or Jack Hughes? I'm going to go with Jack Hughes. Usually the centerman finishes with more points than the winger, usually, unless the winger's name is Alexander Ovechkin, in which case he usually gets a lot of them. Other comments? You put Drouin on IR, and then when Matheson returns, no defenseman has to go to Laval. This coming in from Ryan Katz. Next. I think it's not a question of a defenseman going down to Laval, though. I think it's a question of a lot of people believing that maybe Laval would be good for Xhekaj right now. Mike says, Tony, why is Slafkovsky starting on the fourth line? It makes no sense because they have a plan. The plan looks like it was a predetermined plan, and they want to stick to that plan. And they'll probably give him a little bit more when they think he's ready for it. Paul in New Brunswick, but I like Slafkovsky tonight. I thought he showed some good signs and some good things. In front of his mother, by the way, who was in attendance tonight. Hi, Paul.
Hey, Tony. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. I had a good chuckle with you and George before. That was really funny.
Oof. Yeah, it was. I was going to say I almost lost it, but I did lose it, right?
Well, you came back pretty good.
I tried. Yeah, I tried. What's on your mind, Paul?
calling tonight because I think I really, really noticed more than ever before how the Canadiens are really just a one-line team. We're going to get little sporadic things here and there from certain players. Gallagher gets a couple, Dvorak gets a couple, but I don't think it's going to be wins by committee this year. So I do believe that Canadiens right now are overachieving big time, and I could see the wins diminishing a lot as the season goes on. Teams are.
I don't know if they're going to diminish a lot, but I think that they have overachieved as well. But they didn't do this by fluke, eh? They deserve to have the record that they have. I think they've played really good hockey this year.
Oh, absolutely. They have played very, very well, and they're fun to watch, like everybody's saying. But I think as the season progresses, teams are going to pick up pretty quick that if you play Suzuki and Caulfield hard, and it's going to get a little bit more difficult for them as the season goes on.
Paul, you've been heard, and thanks so much for calling the Sick Podcast. I appreciate it, bud. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Paul. There you have it. Paul in New Brunswick, 1-888-585-SICK. That's 1-888-585-7425. Jake Allen at the end of the game saying that's the best team we played this year. You know what? You have to agree with him. I mean, you probably didn't think that they were the best team, but I haven't seen a team this year give the Canadiens as many problems as the New Jersey Devils did tonight. In period number 2, especially, the Canadiens couldn't breathe. They suffocated them. They were first on the puck all the time, and it just led the Canadiens into turnover after turnover after turnover, and a lot of mistakes. 1-888-585-SICK, 1-888-585-7425. It is a toll-free number. To your comments before we get to another call, where are we going? Yep, it's all Arber's fault. Give me a break. We missed many scoring chances. Yeah, he didn't play his best game, but who did? We just played the hottest team in the league. If Cooley or Harris have a few bad games, are they going down as well? Edmondson and Arber should not be playing together. Savard, Cooley, Matheson, Edmondson, Harris, and Xhekaj. This coming in from Mark. Mark, thanks for the note. I don't think anyone said it was all Xhekaj's fault. I think there was just a comment from a caller who said, it was Chris Latournette, who said at the beginning of the season, Xhekaj was more involved physically, he thought he made better decisions, and he just thinks that he may have been a little bit complacent over the past couple of games, and he's been a little bit exposed. That's different than saying it's all his fault. He clearly didn't say it was all his fault. More questions coming in. Could they trade Jake Allen to the Leafs? This coming in from Kelly. Kelly, I'm all for trading players if you can stockpile assets. But if I knew that Jake Allen was going to give the Toronto Maple Leafs a better chance to win, that's the one team I wouldn't want to send him to. I wouldn't want to send him to the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't totally despise the Leafs, by the way. I don't. But I just wouldn't want to send them there. No. I don't know if you do that, right? Like in your own division, helping a team like that who's an arch rival team. Do you help them? I don't know. Out of all the teams that you can send them to if you want to, Jake Allen keeps the Montreal Canadiens in hockey games. Tonight it wasn't meant to be, though. I mean, tonight New Jersey was just too much for the Montreal Canadiens. Didn't matter who was in nets tonight. You put any goalie in the National Hockey League in goal for the Montreal Canadiens tonight, they don't win that hockey game versus the Devils. They just don't. Other comments? We need to build a winning culture to make free agents want to actually play here. If they suck and depend always on the draft, it's not a good strategy. We need free agents to want to sign here. This coming in from Hutsy. Hutsy, here's my opinion on this. When you draft players, especially if you can draft 1, 2, 3, 4, you're supposed to be getting the best players of that draft year. 50% of the time, the number one pick ends up being much better than anybody in the draft, maybe even more than that. But when you draft players You're on an entry-level contract for 3 years. You're under $1 million. When you're trying to sign a free agent that has the stature of a player or the potential of a player that's in the top 3 or 4 or 5, you're going to have to overpay. A lot of teams make a lot of mistakes in free agency. The Toronto Maple Leafs gave John Tavares, as good as he is, and he's a real good hockey player, a 7-year, $77 million contract. They could have taken that money and paid it to several players in several other positions. And because they gave him that money, the following year, Matthews' agent wanted more, and Marner's agent wanted more, and Nylander's agent wanted more. And none of them got more than Tavares. None of them. But they all looked, their agents all looked at the team and said, well, if you're giving Tavares that money, you got to give my player that money or close to it. So I would rather the team finish in the bottom 4 or 5 and draft for a couple of years than go out and get free agents. Free agents, you end up spending too much money. You're going to end up giving somebody $10 million a year for the next 7 years. And that's a $70 million contract. And then if that player doesn't pan out, then you can't move that contract. When you draft, it's an entry-level deal, under $1 million, a 3-year deal. So I totally, and respectfully disagree with you. Other comments. I heard today that Alphonso Davies is not in Qatar yet. What's up with that? This coming in from Kennedy. I believe he's in Germany. He will be on his way to Qatar. I'm not so sure the reason why he's in Germany. Maybe because he's undergoing treatment for the hamstring or whatever, but he will be on his way to Qatar. I can guarantee you that Alphonso Davies will be in Qatar. All right? And it's not like the World Cup starts now. It starts in 5 days, but if I'd be a betting man, I would bet that, he'll be there tomorrow or the day after at the latest. But I don't know exactly the reason why. I don't. I do know that he's a top 3 left back in the world on anyone's list. And he's going to be really good for Canada playing the left wing because with the Canadiens men's national team, he plays more advanced. He plays left wing, and Sam Adekugbe will play behind them at left back. You see, we do talk soccer every now and then. Canada versus Belgium, Wednesday, November 23rd, 2 p.m. I'll most likely be at Xhekaj, of course. Other comments? Probably in LaSalle. Nick G says, Tony, what do the Devils have that the Habs don't have? They went through the rebuild, and they're probably further along in the rebuild and more experience. The Canadiens will get there. Give the Canadiens a couple of years. In 2 years from now, the Canadiens will look like the New Jersey Devils look tonight. I'd be willing to bet on that. I'm convinced. 1 or 2 more comments. John Wayne, we have some good young guys. No matter what, we can't be disappointed. The future is bright. He's absolutely right about that. The future is bright. If you're enjoying the Sick Podcast on YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook, you're watching right now live, comment Sick, S-I-C-K. It's our way of feeling the love. If normally you listen in on Google Podcast or Apple Podcast or Spotify, leave us a 5-star review. It's also another way that we can feel the love, and we appreciate that as well. Why don't we take one more comment for tonight's edition of the Sick Podcast? This one coming in from Cuckoo K69. Dadonov on fire was the first period highlight of the game. Wish we had a better turnout versus New Jersey, but seemed to fall apart midway through the second. Way too many turnovers. Like they said, I think it was Joel Edmondson, they got beat at their own game tonight. They got beat by a team that had speed and skill, pushed the pace, was the aggressor, and had a real aggressive forecheck. Marinaro, and that clip you just watched is from our most recent episode of the Sick Podcast. Once again, follow us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's absolutely free, and you'll be notified when we go live. I'm Marinaro. Tell your friends about it. This podcast, like me, is pretty sick.